So now that you've heard my introduction to jQuery, as well as my own opinion on teaching jQuery and the approach that we're taking here, which to summarize briefly is we started with vanilla JavaScript, and now that we're confident doing things that way, we're moving on to jQuery. So the first thing we need to talk about is how do we include jQuery into an application. So I'm going to start with a very simple application here. I'll just add in my HTML and give it a title, jQuery demo. J on jQuery is always lowercase. Don't ask me why. Q is uppercase. I'll add in just a few elements, jQuery demo, just like that, and maybe an li or two. And these will just be random text. Okay, so 3 li's, a u instead of a ul, and an h1. And we'll save. And of course, we'll go ahead and open that in the browser. And here's our demo page. There are a few ways to add jQuery to our own application, to our own HTML files. Remember that jQuery is just a JavaScript file. It's no different than the files that we've written so far, like our colorgame.js or our todolist.js, or whatever JavaScript files we've created and linked using a script tag. So in both methods here, we're using a script tag. The only difference is the source attribute. And in this case, we're linking to the file locally. And what that means is that I downloaded the code for jQuery and I put it in the same directory as my project, and then I linked to it. So I'll show you how we do that. If we go to the jQuery documentation and we click on download, and then we need to pick a version, and I'm going to go with the latest, which is 2.1.4, and we have a few options. We can download the compressed production jQuery 2.1.4 and the uncompressed development version. I'm going to do both. Usually I would just do this one because it's compressed. The whole point is that it's faster to load, but I do want to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to get the uncompressed one and the compressed one. And you can see we get two different files. We have jQuery 2.1.4.js and we have jQuery 2.1.4.min.js. So I'm going to open both of those up in Sublime here. Just drag them in and let's take a look at them. So this file here is the uncompressed version, and as I scroll through, notice that it's just one really long JavaScript file. It's over 9,000 lines. So we can include this file, or we can include the minified version, which is the same code behind the scenes, but when something is minified or compressed, all the white space is taken out. So all these returns, all the comments are gone, and all the names of variables and properties are shortened to single characters. So you can see that we have things like M, or we have things like A, B, C, which are definitely not the names of properties and arguments inside of the uncompressed file. So we can include either one, and to do that, we just need to make sure that we add the files to the correct directory. So I'm going to make a new folder inside of my project, and I'm going to call it lib. And we don't have to do this. We could just drag our two files to be in the same directory as our HTML file. And I'll start with it that way to show you. So I'm going to open up my HTML file and add a script here, script tag, and I need source equals, and I need to write this name right here, which is jQuery 2.1.4.js. And we need that dash, so I'm going to copy it and just set the source to be jQuery-2.1.4.js. And as long as this file, jQuery demo.html, is in the same place as jQuery 2.1.4, we should be good. So I'll save and open it back in the browser and refresh. If we open up the console, we can actually type the word jQuery and hit enter. And if we don't get an error, that tells us that jQuery is correctly added to our application. So a better way to structure this is to actually put these in a separate directory called lib, just so that we can separate our own JavaScript files from library JavaScript files so that we don't confuse them and we don't clutter up our directory structure. So it's not mandatory at all. As you saw, we had jQuery working, but a better way to do it is to make a directory, and we can call this anything. You could call it jQuery if you wanted to. I'm going to go with lib. And then I need to change my link here, my source, to be lib/jQuery-2.1.4, and I'll do .min.js. And you don't have to do that. There's no difference in functionality. The only difference is that this is faster to load, but I need to have that one here. So to reiterate, we do not need both of them. We just need one, and we need to link to that one correctly. So let's verify that it worked. If I refresh, all right, that works well. We can type jQuery, and we can also type $. And if those work, we know that jQuery is correctly installed. So that's the first way. We can download jQuery locally and then link to it with a script tag. There's another option though, which is to use a CDN. CDN stands for Content Distributed Network, and think of it as just a way of grabbing a file from online without actually having to download it to your machine. So I'll show you. If we just copy this URL right here, which happens to be a jQuery CDN for version 2.1.4, and if I just go to that URL, you'll see that it's just the jQuery file here. What we can do is link to this URL or any other jQuery CDN URL. There's a lot of them online, and that will work the same way as linking to the file here locally. The only difference is that this will actually load a little bit faster because it's local on our computer. And if we replace it with the CDN, it won't be noticeable to us, but under the hood, it does take a little longer. But of course, it is a lot easier and simpler to use because we don't have to download a copy of jQuery for every application that we make. So I'll refresh. And if we type jQuery here, it should still work. And it does. Lastly, I'll show you how I found that CDN. Just open up a new tab and look for CDN jQuery. And if we just do a search for CDN and then any other library, which we'll see some other ones later on, like jQuery, you'll see that we get a bunch of links. So jQuery has an official one. There's this cdnjs.com, and we have a bunch of URLs here that we can just copy. We would have to pay attention to the version. So this is for 3.0. If we go to 2.1.4, it gives us a uncompressed, a normal version, and a minified version. And just to show you, if I go to that URL, I see the minified file. So to wrap up, either way works. We need a script tag in both cases, but the source is either going to be a local file or a file that's hosted somewhere that we're linking to using a CDN. The last thing I want to do is give you a quick 30-second preview of what jQuery looks like. So here's a little bit of what jQuery looks like. First thing you might notice is there's a $sign being used in 4 different places. We have a bunch of methods like .click, .css, .fadeout, .remove. So what this code will actually do is select a button with ID trigger, and when it's clicked, it runs all this code. And when it's clicked, we're going to change the background color of the body to be yellow. We're going to fade out all images on the page, and it's going to take 3 seconds to fade them out. And then when the fade out is done, we're going to remove those 3 images from the page. So click on the button with ID of trigger, change the body color, fade out images over 3 seconds, and then remove images when they're done. All right, so that was the speed preview of jQuery. Now let's actually start writing some in the next video.